The right stuff has returned, this time from the Lone Star State with its most explosive season yet. Extreme challenges await as these 6 men go head-to-head, taking physical endurance and marksmanship to a whole new level. Who will outshoot, outperform, and outlast the competition as each man pushes it to the limits to say they have the right stuff. On the last episode of The Right Stuff, Tim Martin took first place in the Nissan Park and Throw Challenge as Dylan Irvin was eliminated from the competition. Rowdy won the Right Stuff award and found himself in an elimination shoot-off with Seth and Tim. In the shoot-off, Rowdy took first place and Tim second place, beating out Seth by only 1/100th of a second, leaving Seth Castor packing his bags and heading home in a double elimination episode. With only 3 contestants remaining, who will be the next to go? The Right Stuff starts now. Welcome to Day 7 of The Right Stuff. Let's head over to the range where Matt and the men are ready to start today's competition.
Gentlemen, welcome to Day 7. We have the Remington Pneumatic Challenge using Fiocchi ammunition. How do you guys feel about double elimination yesterday?
Well, you know, it caught us by surprise there at the end, but it was a good challenge for us to be in, and of course I'm happy that I'm still here.
Shoot-offs are always fun.
Shoot-offs are fun.
All right, you did very well.
Thank you.
Excellent shooting yesterday, Rowdy. So, Tim, how do you feel about these Remington Versamax?
I like the Remingtons. Whatever shell you give it, they'll eat them up. Doesn't matter. They run and run.
Exactly that. I was playing around with it earlier this week, and it did exactly that for me. So, Will, have you ever used the Promatic throwers?
I have not. I'm excited to see how they launch and how these clays fly and knock them out one at a time.
They've been working very well for us all week. All right, Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready to do it.
All right, well, let's look to our announcer and see what the stage has in store for us.
Thanks, Matt, and welcome, gentlemen, to the Remington Shotgun Promatic Challenge. The contestants will take their place, then they must hit 14 white flyer clays from 7 Promatic machines. The contestant with the most targets hit wins.
Tim, you're up first after winning yesterday's challenge. You guys, go have a seat.
The Right Stuff is brought to you in part by Nissan's American Titan Truck, G-Shock, Armalite, Glock, and Tannerite. The Right Stuff is brought to you in part by Surgeon Rifles, Macmillan, Vortex, and Tough Products. The G-Shock Master of G line of watches was developed for men who relentlessly challenge the limits under extreme conditions. With specialized functions, this line has adapted and evolved to respond successfully to conditions in 3 different fields: in the sky, on the land, and out at sea. Gathering feedback from professionals on the front lines of these fields to ensure that its development solutions meet their needs, this remarkable line of G-Shock watches are powerful tools to support wearers on their missions. Welcome to Day 7 of The Right Stuff. Let's head over to the range where Matt and the men are ready to start today's competition. First up in the Remington Shotgun Promatic Challenge is Tim Martin with Team Macmillan.
Oh! Where's my next one? Oh! Good. Pull.
Wait.
Good. Pull. 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 Singles. Good. Pull. 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 Second. Oh. I will. Pull. 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 Yes, I did. Good timing on these.
Set it down.
Next up in the Remington Shotgun
Ready?
Chromatic Challenge is Will Round
Pull.
with Team Block.
Pull. Pull. Okay. Pull. Pull. It's broke.
Let's redo that one. D again.
Pull. Pull. Okay. Pull. Pull.
All right, so now the order. So go ahead.
All right. Pull. Pull. Pull.
Pull. Pull. Pull. Pull. Pull. Pull. Pull. Pull.
Next up in the Remington Shotgun Promatic Challenge is Rowdy Bricko with Team Tannerite.
Pull.
Next target will be far left.
Pull.
Next target will be C. Direct in front.
Pull.
Delta, far right.
Pull. Pull.
Charlie.
Pull.
Final will be Bravo. Far left.
Pull.
They start flying.
Pull. 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 Pull.
All right.
Pull. 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 Pull.
All right, unload.
The Right Stuff is brought to you in part by Polaris Fun Center, Slingshot, Wiley X, True Spec, and Reebok. The Right Stuff is brought to you in part by Champion Firearms, Revy, Pro Shot, and Total Resources. American Titan Truck. Simply the best built American truck ever. Designed in California, engineered in Michigan, tested in Arizona, assembled in Mississippi, powered by Tennessee, and Cummins in Indiana. Nissan's American Titan Truck. Welcome back to day 7 of The Right Stuff. Let's return to the challenge where Matt has some surprising news.
Okay, fellas, we have a tie for the lead. So Tim, why don't you go have a seat? So we're going to show you the new pattern of doubles and tell you all about it in a minute. So why don't you turn and face the set? Go ahead, Eugene. Pay attention. Next set. All right, Rowdy, you shot last, so go have a seat. Will, you're up. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
All righty.
Next up in the Remington Shotgun Promatic Challenge is Will Round with Team Glock.
Pull. Pull.
Well, what's that?
Pull. Pull.
Thank you.
Next up in the Remington Shotgun Promatic Challenge is Rowdy Bricko with Team Tannerite.
Pull. 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 Pull.
The Right Stuff is brought to you in part by Metal Spinning Targets, Cinch, and Cruel Girl, Fat Man Beef Jerky, and Airsoft. The Right Stuff is brought to you in part by Promatic, Dripping Springs Vodka, Fall Creek Vineyards, Rebecca Creek Distillery, the Museum of the American GI.
Welcome back to day 7 of The Right Stuff. Let's head over to the Campfire Armory where Matt and the men have gathered to talk about the results of today's.
Welcome back to the 7th Campfire Armory, gentlemen. What did you think of today's challenge?
It's exciting.
It was tough, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Remington Versamax never missed a beat. We did have a tie for the lead. Okay, Rowdy and Will both tied for the lead. We had to run a shoot-off, which I love. However, Rowdy, you prevailed. Come on up.
Great job. Good job, Robbie. Thank you.
Good shooting. The The Right Stuff Award, my favorite award to present, is going to go to Will for taking second in the shoot-off.
Thank you very much. I
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So now we come to the part of the show that nobody likes. However, it is a competition and there can only be one winner. Tim, you are safe today. It's not an elimination round. All right? Get some rest tonight, fellas. Tomorrow we're going to do some old-fashioned gunslinging. Let's head back to the camp.
Rowdy Bricko takes the first place bullet in the Remington Shotgun Promatic Challenge, while Will Round gains the Right Stuff Award for the day. Although Tim Martin came in last, he too will advance from this non-elimination round.
Oh man, we shot some clays. It's a good time. Well, you know, it's my second shoot-off in a row now. It seems like that's the best thing for me to move ahead. So we had a tie after the first part of the challenge, and then we had to have a shoot-off, and I won. You know what? I wasn't nervous. I feel like I'm hitting my stride. It seems as there's more pressure to do well when there's fewer of us, that I actually am doing better. Oh wow, tomorrow, getting closer to maybe being in the final. That's what I'm looking forward to, going through the process and getting to the end. I think that it's going to be Will in the end with me. He's got a lead on me in the shells, and so I got to catch him and pass him.
Today I did pretty good on the first round. I actually thought I did really good. Made it to a tie with first place and went to a tiebreaker and shot a little poor, but still came out with the Right Stuff Award, which was nice to receive. Today in the Campfire Armory, we didn't have anybody get eliminated. They held the last spot, and I guess we'll move on to the next day, next challenge, and I assume somebody will leave there. They gave us a hint and said that we're going to be slinging guns, so I assume some sort of maybe old gunslinger, cowboy town kind of thing. So I'm excited to see what happens there.
We got to shoot little sporting clays with a Versamax shotgun. I didn't do so good. You know, usually I'm a 3-gunner, and 3-gunners don't shoot flying objects. We usually shoot stuff on the ground and go from there. So it was a little tough for me. Yeah, I was expecting to go home today. We'll see what happens though. I am excited to still be here. You know, go on to the next challenge and see what happens there. Maybe I'll prevail.
On the next episode of The Right Stuff, the gentlemen cowboy up and head for the Old Western Challenge. Only Tim, Rowdy, and Will remain as they pick up a single-action revolver and lever-action rifle in this Old Western shootout. Only 2 can advance to the final as these 3 battle it out to say they have the right stuff.
Another fantastic Shipman Agency